Hey, welcome back to the shop. If this is your first time here, my name is Juan Fancio, and I'm not a wood turner by trade. I'm a photographer and videographer, but I started turning just over a year ago, and the club that I joined has asked me if I can do a demo, and most people who do demos have been doing this for a long time, so I thought today I do some practice and I give this a shot on a video, and I ask you to tell me if I'm ready to do a demo or not. I have several bad habits and I kind of don't want to change them, so I'm going to tell you what the bad habits are as I go. This is a 9-inch piece of birch. It still has some bark here which might fly off, which that's one of the bad habits. People usually remove this. And no checks here, but there are some lines here. So I'm going to try to do a demo for either a rough turn or a thin bolt to a finish. But regardless, even if I do a rough turn, we're going to do it to the finish. So it has to be finish. Basically, it's going to be thicker because I'm going to return it, but I'm not going to rough turn it. I'm going to try to turn it like if it was a dry piece of wood or a live edge that we're trying to reach the finish point, right? So the other bad habit I have is that I don't use a tailstock. So if you're doing this, if you leave in a comment about safety and stuff that I am not doing, by all means I welcome you to post those comments, because it'll help somebody that doesn't know for safety reasons. However, if you're gonna tell me or to change my habits, that's not going to work. You'll be wasting your time. But having said that, as much as I don't like the wood turning police in this particular video, because we're trying to do a demo, I'm going to sand this bit. Has some gunk in there, because we're doing a demo. By all means, if you have anything that you see that I'm doing wrong, that you want to leave a safety comment, by all means go ahead. Just don't leave it to me, because I'll ignore it, because you know I'm a nightmare. But that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of reluctant to do a demo, because I don't necessarily, I don't mind passing experience, but I don't want to teach people my bad habits. So, and one of them, as you can see, also is an opinion my lathe. But so the other question is, so how can you do a demo if you've been turning just over a year? Just to give you an idea, this is my third bowl today, and I think I have 2 or 3 more to do. So I turn a lot. That's how I gain my experience. Some people will turn 5 balls in a couple months. Some of them on a lathe for 20 years and turn 5 things a year. I'm turning 5 today, so I'm not special or anything like that. I just do this a lot, and I pick up stuff, and I'm trying to share it with you. So anyways, let's get on. I use mainly 40-40 gouges. If you're not familiar with 40-40s, 40-degree angle this way, that way, and that way. It's a Stuart Batty thing. You can look that up. So I have 5 of this. So when I switch, I'm not using a different gouge. I'm just going to be using the same one, but it's fresh. They're all sharp, and I have 1, 2, 3 5/8 and 2 1/2-inch ones. We're going to start with the 5/8. At the bottom of the bowl, however, I'm going to use, you can use, because a 40-40 does not work. You're supposed to use the bottom of the bowl gouge. This is one from Ashley hardwood, and I find it too big. Actually, I use a 60-degree swept back Ellsworth for the bottom, but I'll tell you when we get there. So we're gonna check this has now hit the tool rest. Everything's tight. Put our speed down to 0. See how fast we can turn. This, because it has a bit of checks, this is, I believe, 9 inches. I'm going to try to make it smaller to get rid of those checks. If no, I'll rough turn it and put some glue. That's just going to decide whether I do a finished bowl or a rough turn as those checks. If it didn't have any checks, I would do a thin bowl, but for a demo, I think for someone that is learning, you're better off not try a thin bowl right off the bat. But, so past 570 there starts to shake a bit, and if you keep going a bit more, then it settles. The knocking that you hear is just stones at the bottom of the thing. So 845 is going to be my starting point, and I'm just going to cut these corners right here. So, a couple things. I'm wearing safety glasses, and that's pretty much it. So, they recommend that you wear a face shield, especially if you're doing this. You should have the tailstock up against it, at least to start. With the 40-40, you need to swing across, so the tailstock gets in the way. To me, putting the tailstock on to basically do this and maybe a bit more, or like maybe round this off and then take it off, it's just a waste of time. So there is a couple of ways that people do. They will flatten this, and then they will flatten this part, and then they start turning the bowl. If it's way out of balance and I can't gain speed, I will do that. But if in this case it's turning at a half decent speed for my liking, so I'm just gonna go across this way, and that's gonna solve both problems in one shot. So I start by cutting the corner more in this angle, because, and this happened to me as a beginner, you tend to make your curve right around here and then go straight out. And what happens is, I think the reason, at least why I did it, is because you figure that you get in a deeper bowl and more volume. But it is technically an ugly bowl, and it winds up with a corner inside instead of just a nice radius, right? So, and if you're using something like this, or if you are not used to swinging your gouge to the inside of the bowl, the more in an angle that you make it this way, the easier it is to hollow it out compared to having to do a steep curve, right? Because it's hard to control, especially if you're learning. So if it's almost like a 45 degrees this way, you, once you enter, you like just keep pushing, just a slight curve, and you're gonna be fine. But you'll see. I might also try to do this shallow because of this checks. I'm going to try to remove, because whether I rough turn this or no, this will continue to check here. So I'll probably remove about 3/4 of an inch from this side. So with that in mind, let's get it done. So that's how I'm holding the gouge. And it's gonna skip a bit here because I didn't flatten. If you flatten this, then your entry is a lot easier. Because it's now flat, it's gonna skip a bit at first. So I have to hold it until I get a full circle. I somehow don't like having the tool rest right up against the wood, especially with the 5/8, because then you're right there. Also, I watch videos from Stuart Body. He holds the gouge very light here, and this finger there, and this one's stop it from so you don't push. I tend to like grab it like this and kind of pull this way. That is also wrong, but it works for me, so I'm just showing you how I do it. A bark fine. I'm always on this side. I don't stand in the line of fire, so I don't care. I know those things are gonna fly. This is another bad habit. You should stop the lathe before moving your banjo. But again, I'm sharing my bad habits. So I should be able to increase my speed there. And yeah, let's do one more pass, then I'm going to straighten this out and see what I'm at, because I'm not going for this edge, considering that I'm going to remove about 3/4 of this, so I have to keep that in mind. And let's see if we can go a little faster. Yeah, that's about 1,000. The faster you go, the smoother a cut you're gonna get. Here I can see where there's solid wood, see the ghost image there. So I'm gonna put my gouge right there, right at the end of the ghost image. And slowly go across. While I'm at it, this is the chuck I'm going to use. If I'm going to the finish, I want a little less than this gap here. If it's going to be a rough turn, then we need to be bigger than this, because it's going to become an oval and we're going to have to reshape that later. But I don't make the tenon bigger than it needs to be. And again, because of my bad habits, I want my tenons to be perfect. So I think think I need to be a little bigger here because I think I am going to rough turn this. So that's going to be my size, and usually so I don't have to mark it because it's about 1/8 of an inch from that edge. Actually, I'm going to do one pass that is going to leave it smaller. Check that nothing's touching. Yeah, as you can see, 40/40 leaves it smooth. There are like minuscule, am I pronouncing that right, lines, and those will sand with like 220 or 320, but we're not at the edge, and I'm already below the size of my tenon, so I'm gonna have to do a pass where I go a little deeper here, kill a bit of this hump here, and wind up with, well, actually, if I'm gonna remove this, I am already there technically. Here I'm not, and here I'm not, so yeah, I have to do that. So I'm gonna go in and turn here. Go in and turn. Slow down. You can tell I started to route the bevel towards the end here instead of riding it. You see the lines are getting bigger, and if we shear scrape that, you'll probably hear the bumps. Yeah. So let's do that is technically finished, but let's just try, for the sake of learning, a thin pass mimicking a finishing pass. I don't normally do this. I'm rubbing the bevel too much. You want to hear a nice hissing. There's too much there. So I make more lines doing a finishing pass than if I do a kind of rough pass. But as you can see, a 40-40 leaves no tear out, no nothing. So I have a bit of a hump here. I'm going to shear scrape that. It's not going to work with this. Has a funny shape there. Sometimes you go shear a scrape or try to fix a deeper line and you keep making a deeper one, and it's usually, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit of a dip right there. It's not on this side, it's straight. That's the way it should be. That means I didn't grind that properly. But anyways, moving on. Let's make this video not so big. Where are my chicks here? There's nothing there and nothing there. I think we do it to the finish, like thin. Yeah. I'm gonna remove about I don't know, an 1/8 or 1/4 here. So another thing is, if you're not using a tailstock and you're gonna rough turn, then make sure that you do this. Because you're gonna need your center when you bring it back after it dries to return it. So you want that, and before you put it away, because that might fade, poke it with something. So I always forget to do that. That's my other thing. So here I can go a little smaller, because I'm just gonna go to the finish and let it warp this guy. So I'm exactly where I need to be. To do a tenon with a 40-40, pick your angle for your jaws, and you go in that angle. And that's pretty much your tenon. However, yeah, my wing is not straight. You should have an undercut on that. So we are gonna fix it with a skew chisel. All I'm doing is cleaning the corner and making sure the shoulder is flat. People worry about this part. this shoulder here is the most important part of the tenon. That's what holds it. The chuck will grab this way, but if there is a gap between the chuck and the shoulder, it means that your piece can rock back and forth and make its way out. So what you're looking for is a clean shoulder and as close as possible as the same angle as your jaws have. If they don't have, then you go straight or whatever the profile is. And also that you get the closest thing to a circle on your chuck. Basically, if you open up your chuck too much, only these 8 corners are squeezed in here, and so the more of a perfect circle that you get it, the better it's gonna grip the whole tenon all in one shot. I don't think I explained that properly, but hopefully you get it. So I'm not tied yet, I'm just pressing against it and checking for gaps. There are no gaps. The seat's really nice. And start tying. So wet wood, no matter how tight you make this right now, by the time I remove the faceplate and come back here, you'll be able to squeeze this one more time. So same thing with if you're turning a wet piece and you have it on a chuck, and if you're taking too long, you should stop, or at least do half the ball, stop and check, because you will be this wet wood will compress slowly as you working, and this will become loose. Feels like I'm wasting more time talking than turning. So, tie this up. Doing that because I'm putting force. If it's weak or something, it might happen then. So, I view that as a good thing to do. Now see that extra squeeze. So, I don't know if you can see here, but there's a bit of a hump there that I don't like. So, I'm going to try to get rid of that. So again, we're going to check how fast we can go. Yeah, it's running through. It doesn't look through because I didn't flatten the front, and I won't either, so. See, this is kind of the stuff I don't like doing, because right now here, I'm on the line of fire. I try to avoid that as much as possible. So I get it that airbags save lives, but to me, my policy is don't get into an accident. Forget about the airbags. But they're good to have though. So again, if you flatten this face here as you do your hollowing, you're gonna enter smooth every time. If you don't, like I do at the very beginning, because you're going through this guys, your gouge is gonna try to escape on you. So my advice to you is flatten this and then do what we're gonna do next. In my case, I just like to flatten what the rim is gonna be. So I check for my ghost image, and I have to, well, we were gonna remove about 3/4, we said. I almost forgot. See what we had there. Yeah, I think we can live with that. So next thing is, it has never happened to me, but this is very sharp right now. So just in case, you know, you put your hand there, I would say kill that edge. So I always do it even, but I've never, I'm kind of hairy, so ironically I have come close, but somehow I feel it. So that's what I learned. If you're hairy, you have a, it's like a prevention program. So anyway, I'm gonna get a bigger 5/8 to hollow. See what I mean about this curve? Now is like, you can see, you don't even have to go like this to see it, but if you make it like this way. So the other thing is, people will drill sometimes. I don't. Having said that, you do not push here, because if you cross the center line, the wood will grab your gouge and spin it this way. Lift it up, the thing, and it might not do nothing to you, but it'll be a big bang and it'll scare the bejesus out of you. It might happen now anyways. Happens to me all the time. So even though your gut will tell you to kind of start following the shape, there is two things here. One is, if you follow the shape, is very good practice for swinging your bowl. Having said that, this particular 40/40 gouge does not like side grain. It likes cutting end grain. So basically, if you plunge straight in, it will cut like butter. The second that you start to go in an angle, it starts to tear out and chatter. I will show you that. So go in, it's perfectly smooth. You start to turn, and it starts to chatter. But if you go straight in, that at the beginning is what I was talking about, no flattening. It will escape because this part is now flat. Actually, let's just flatten it. flatten that. You just go sideways and run it back and forth. There we go. So you go almost close. Once you're in, you turn and you push. Close, turn, push. See, the second I start to turn, it starts to chatter. So now I'm gonna stop, because the last cut I did try to follow the outside contour, because I don't, that's another bad habit, I don't use gauge. So I would feel that I have, if it's thicker, then I know I will adjust my angle right about now. So I want to know that this cut that I made is parallel to the outside. If it doesn't feel that way, I will correct it in the next 2-3 cuts. And if you mess it up, too bad. So my cut was a little thicker at the bottom, so yeah, that's better. So we're gonna go to the finish with this. So I'm gonna try to go thin, not too thin, but that much. Not all the way, because it starts to wobble on you. And then one more cut. And this one I'm going to continue. So I started and continued through the second one I had. This is perfect so far. So that's about, I don't know, less than a quarter. Let's continue, hold on. So straight in. Now I don't have to open and close because I have all those grooves, so you just go in each groove and push about a couple of inches. So as you get near the edge, try to do one pass parallel to your outside. So check your outside and then just guess what it would be and then stop your lathe and feel. Now don't worry about this part that is finished. You checking this area against this area, that they're parallel to each other. So now I know that as long as I follow this curve here, I'm parallel to the outside. It doesn't matter how many passes I take to get from here to my finish point, as long as they're all the same the same thickness that I'm removing, right? So So I made 3 steps because if you go in one shot, it will wobble on you, especially here. You get not only the wood wobbling, but also you bring in your gouge about 3 inches away from your tool rest. You can also get a shorter tool rest and put it here if it makes it is better. I don't, if you're using, like, let's say a smaller one, like a 1/2 inch or 3/8, you should definitely like have your tool rest like there. That way you're cutting with closer support, right? I just because then what happens is you have to keep turning it back and forth to do the center part, and I'm lazy to do that. So let's see if we can do this turn here without making a funnel. Want to be funny? I'm good. I mean, I'm learning. I'm saying that cut was good, not me. So I'm not gonna fall off there, just in case. And here's another bad habit. So somewhere along here, you should be switching, because this particular gouge is not good, no longer good cutting smooth this way. However, well, 2 things. First of all, around this point, you should see that. So that. And the other thing is, because we're supposed to always do a bevel supported cut, so somewhere along here I will start holding this just with an unsupported bevel cut, but I basically grabbing and running my hand across my my elbow across the wrist, and basically making an unsupported cut. It's awful, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be finishing the bottom. I'm just trying to remove material and show you what that looks like. And that's the comeback that I was talking about. So from here on, that was a bevel supported cut. So you can see the bevel is in contact. And well, actually this is birch, is not bad, but usually you get a bit of tear out if you cut in that way. But you can see what a mess it's making here with the wings, because it does not like to cut that way. But This is the unsupported cut that I'm talking about. Basically that, because I'm cutting with the tip as I'm coming across, that shape that you see in there, and that's why all those lines, that is a free-handed curve basically, because it's not the bevel doing it. But now we're going to switch to the 60-degree swept back that I was talking about, because this guy does a better job. I would normally actually try to do that in one pass, but it is good to practice this bottom part. If you have extra wood, do several passes, because I'm always being aggressive. I need to learn to do very thin passes. You saw what happened when I tried to do one on the outside. Like, ironically, I can cut smoother, aggressive than the way it's supposed to be, I guess. So let's go for it. Yeah, that's it. There's a couple bumps there. So if you have any lines, this is actually pretty good. If you have any lines, people will suggest that you use a negative rake scraper like this guy. However, when you have especially soft and wet wood, it will give you a tear out. So I will not fix any lines with this guy. I think the other ones may work, but I don't know. I haven't tried it, so I'm not going to get into that and mess this up. Another thing, so there's a slight bump right here that it is a no-no, is scraping with the wing. This is another one of my bad habits, but here it goes. If you don't feel comfortable with this, you will get a massive catch and blow up your bowl. A smooth pass here. And there you go. So see, I cannot feel, I can see these lines here, but I cannot feel them. So that's something that should sand extremely easy. And I could also fix them by doing what I was doing, but rubbing my hand against it. But we got this far without blowing it up and without screwing anything up, so I think we're just gonna call it that. Just gonna take it out so you can see it better. There's slight tear out there, very minor. There is a slight hump right there, which again we'll sand. But we'll let this dry and warp for a few days. And sometimes I put a light. That's another thing you can do. I have incandescent lights, which are hard to get now. 100-watt light, and just put it under there, and within, if it's this thin, by tomorrow this will be ready to sand. So that's out for that. Because I'm gonna leave it here, I'm gonna leave it on the chuck, because then I'm gonna just sand it and remove the bottom. So that's it. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment and I'll try to answer everything. You don't have to subscribe to my channel. And but if you don't, my cat won't eat, because you know, YouTube paid me like $27 last month. So next thing you know, I'll be buying a huge shop with all this money I'm making. But anyways, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.